Uh-oh. Dan, I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you?
I guess if I unmuted, everybody would be able to
Dude,
hear
there is
me
something
better.
going
I
on
said,
every single
welcome.
time.
Yeah, exactly. There's always something. But welcome to the REI Rocks review. This is the seasonal flu special. Angel and I have been feeling like trash all week. Actually, it's funny. I didn't tell Angel. Like just a minute ago, I went off to the washroom because I was coughing a little bit, and I slipped and fell because I'm wearing my warm socks because it's -4 here. So in degrees communist, so in degrees freedom, we might be at like 28
In
degrees,
degrees
somewhere in that neck
freedom,
of the
it's like
woods.
40 here.
It's like 40 there. Okay, so it's chilly. It's chilly.
I
And
have on my sweater. My littles are home again today. They're like coughing their heads off. This is the sick season.
yeah, it really is. It really is. And let me tell you why we're here, what we're doing. The REI Rocks review, the real estate investing rocks review. What we do is we review the summits, the live summits that Angel puts on, just like that. And it's twice a year. And we get all sorts of amazing experts to let us know what's going on right now, the little things that you just can't put in a beginner's course. And so it's really great for people from all different levels. But what we're doing right now is we're going and reviewing those videos, and then we're putting it in the context of right now. So Angel, do you want to say a little bit about
We're
what we're
also
reviewing today to leave it as a surprise?
I'll go ahead and go with it. We're also talking about the CRM stuff and whether or not you need one, what you need to be pulling from it. But above and beyond that, we are also going through every session and we're telling you, like, hey, these are the things that are probably the most important that you should be taking away from it. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about CRMs, but we're going to be telling you, like, these are the things that you should really be worrying about. Like, what is the most important stuff that should be going in your CRM? Are you so concerned about, I need to be talking to this person every week? I need to be talking, hey, Amy. Oh. Are you thinking, I need to be talking to this person every week? I need to be talking to this person every 2 weeks. Those things may not be as important as what is the continuation of the story? What is the continuity of story? And that's something I really push is you really have to have continuity of story. So I'm going to put that out there. And Dan, I'm going to let you take back over because this is your thing. You are the CRM king. Oh, you're still muted.
Okay. Yeah, I got to stop messing with that. You're right. Yeah, I was just thinking that it's been 13 years that I've been working with CRMs. And one thing I think I should emphasize first, because whenever I get to talk about my own skills, I really get concerned about sounding like I'm bragging. And but what I need to do is I need to pick out a few different factors on why some people, they'll claim to be experts, but they won't get the straight goods. And the reason why I'm so confident about that is because you need to be exposed to the truth before you're aware of the reality, right? So when most people learn a CRM, maybe they went through a community college program or something like that, or maybe they're an entrepreneur and then they started working with some freelancers or something like that, or working with support, or maybe they went to a coach. But the fact is, you're not going to, most people aren't going to sit there and go through every single option in every single menu and say, hey, what does this stuff really actually do? Okay. And then even if you are like me and you worked for a CRM company, there's many different roles at a CRM company. Okay. So if you just work the IT at a CRM company, you won't have the whole picture. If you do the programming, you will definitely not have, you'll have a tiny amount of the whole picture because you won't know how people are using it. And that brings me to one problem I find with computer people in general, which is computer people, we are distrustful of marketing, finance, and maybe I'll throw politics in there, but that's everybody, right? But really, when we see what's going on in most businesses, we're like this stuff is all, just like a shell game, where you're just like moving the stuff around and saying, hey, we made profit, but there wasn't really. So the problem with that then is that there's no real motivation for most programmers to learn business and learn what makes people actually buy and sign on the dotted line. So and then, the thing that's really funny though is that even if you get the people with the architecture, same deal, but those are the different things. But today we're going to be going through the REI ROCKS review. The REI ROCKS presentation on, where did I go here? Is it this one? There it is.
I don't know why my screen keeps going like stroby. I'm not touching anything, I swear.
Yeah. So we're talking about one part here, which is switching CRMs, and not many people really think about what that looks like when you're switching CRMs, because you're probably just thinking about, oh, well, this is my first CRM, so now this is what I need to do. But when you actually work in the business and you find out what's all the issues that people are running into, there are some enormous ones that are so easy to forget. So let's get started. We're doing one thing different in this review, which is normally we watch at 1.5 times speed, but this presentation is only 30 minutes long, so I made it really, really terse. So there are a lot of parts in here where I feel that honestly, it's challenging. So there's probably new vocabulary involved that you're not familiar with, and so that's why we decided we're going to play today's one at 1 time speed. So let's rock and roll. Angel, let me know, make sure that everybody can hear.
Absolutely.
Hey guys. Oh, I can do it too. Hey guys, we're back. We were at Brian Briscoe's TGIF meetup. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool to do something a little bit different. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing that in the future. That was a lot of fun. So if you were here in the morning, we took at 12 o'clock Central. We went over to Brian Briscoe's TGIF meetup, and now we're back. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And there's going to be a lot of people here. And we're going to be talking about some really amazing stuff, because if you've ever thought about switching CRMs, the thing about it is you're like, what happens to all my contacts? How do I get them moved over? What if it goes to the trash or the spam, which is what we're hitting right now? We just found out that probably 20 people, our emails to them went to their spam. And Jason worked really hard to get our stuff out of spam, because the same thing was happening in ActiveCampaign. So when you switch CRMs, some of that junk follows you. And so we're finding out today that even though we're using Kartra, we've switched, we're still back in the trash. We're still back in the spam. So I'm going to turn it over to Dan and let him take over. He's the tech person. He knows these things, and I'm just going to bow out.
Sweet. So the way I put this little presentation is looking into my crystal ball here and seeing your future. And what I see in the future is a bunch of people's pasts, which is you're going to have to switch CRMs one day. There's no two ways about it. There's going to be some reason why you have to switch. And Angel was mentioning some of the technical issues that are going to come up, but there are also issues that have to do with the company that's putting on your CRM. So let's get rocking and rolling here. So first of all, this is what I see in my crystal ball. Okay, your guy, who might not be male, that doesn't matter, but your guy won't produce. And they won't answer your calls, okay? And then you're just sitting there going like, well, I got to make my next move. I got to do something about this. What am I going to do? Well, you're going to have to get somebody like me a gazillion times who sits there and secretly grabs all your stuff without letting the other person know until it's too late. And that part kind of sucks. So the next thing that's going to run into, though, is that let's just say you don't know me and you don't know somebody who has over a decade of experience in running these CRMs and figuring out what kind of architecture you need and all that. So the thing that's going to come up is just like any contractor or professional you run into is like, how do you know that the person's actually legit? And I'd even have a fair amount of difficulty figuring out if somebody knows what their CRM experience actually looks like. But I just generally assume that people don't really know what they're doing. And that's because I've literally spoken to thousands of CRM users. And I've had the good fortune, I was mentioning in Brian's call there that I've run into an issue where if you're talking to these people, I mentioned, these are 7-figure online businesses, but if you know how businesses are evaluated from commercial real estate, you'll know that if you have a 7-figure business, that doesn't even mean that you make 7 figures of revenue. And I'm talking about 7-figure revenues and up. So how do you find out if somebody knows that kind of stuff? And then the other question I have here is like, how much of people's suggestions are going to be about kickbacks? In other words, affiliate commissions. You get a commission when you promote a certain software. And so maybe that's what they're looking for. So the real question that I think you should be thinking about is like, do I actually need to switch CRMs? Yeah, go ahead, Angel.
No, I was going to say, before we get too far, we did have a question about like, what's your favorite CRM and why? So Jason and I use ActiveCampaign. We've tried Kartra. We've tried a bunch of different things. And honestly, ActiveCampaign does the most stuff. But at the same time, we're still hitting the spam. My friend Charles just emailed me the other day. And he was like, dude, I just found this in my spam. I wanted to respond to you because I know you have an active deal right now. And so you just have to be careful. And when you're sending out emails, like reach out to the people you know and be like, hey, did you get my email? I just sent an email. I want to know if they're going out, if they're hitting people spam. Where did it go for you? And they're going to tell you. So be sure that you have a few close friends that you can reach out to and be like, hey, I just sent this campaign out. Where did it go for you?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep, those are excellent points, and I like the fact that that's not where I was about to go in this, which is with Kartra. It has to do with orders, and it's not necessarily specific to Kartra, but the one that I worked for, it did accept orders, and that's a really important thing. And I just think that was a prime example of what I meant by like going real fast, a little bit too fast for some audiences. But to answer Amy's question personally, I did post it in the chat. It didn't make it to LinkedIn, so I'll have to go in there. Here we go. Yeah, great. So great point about reaching out to check to see if it's hitting people's spam. The other thing you can do is you can have a few test accounts. So what you can do is make sure that you are on the mailing lists and then go ahead and sign up for all the weird ones. So sign up for like a Yahoo account, sign up for, well, probably everybody has a Gmail account already, or 3 or 5.
Well, and I tell you, someone else told me that it's really smart to email it to yourself at the same time that you're sending out emails to see if it hits you. Because if it doesn't hit you, there's definitely something going on.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. It's, you have all of those different web mail providers. You have an account for each of them, and then you include yourself on these lists, especially if it's super important. The key word that I'd like to use is redundancy. Okay, back in the day, I used to hate redundancies. Okay. Anything that was redundant, it's like, get rid of it. It's wasteful. And then I started running multi-million-dollar businesses. And then I started to love redundancies. Of course, you could call it a fail-safe, but that's really what it is. It's just, have more members of staff saying, hey, guys, this promo is for all the marbles. We're expecting 6 figures in a weekend. All right. Did that email arrive in your inbox? Did you click on all the links. Okay, don't just assume, just verify. That's
Well,
that's
and this
what.
is one of those really important things too, is a confused mind says no. I am
Mhm,
really bad about verbal vomiting everything we're doing. And so it's taken a lot of conversations. Yeah, William, I do too. It's taken a lot of conversations to say, hey, I'm only going to talk about Marvelous Mondays. I'm only going to talk about my meetup because if I'm talking about all the other stuff we're doing, I'm going to
mhm,
confuse my listeners. So I absolutely have to only talk about one thing. And if you think about funnels, how do funnels work? They've got one button. It may say different things on the button, but that one button points to the exact same thing every time because a confused mind says no.
mhm,
So really keep that in your head and think about what is the most important thing that I want to send people to. For me, it's Marvelous Mondays because I can talk about all sorts of stuff at Marvelous Mondays. But if I want a CTA, which I didn't even know what those letters meant, if I want an effective CTA, it's going to be go to Marvelous Mondays.
mhm, mhm. Yep, I absolutely love that. It's the other thing you got to run into is if you have too many CTAs, you run the risk of the perception that you're going to be half-assing things. You know, it's like,
Absolutely.
okay, so like, what are you actually all in on? What are you actually really like? I like to think of it kind of like Henry Ford and the assembly line. Who already has the assembly line in place? So comes in, gets processed, goes out quickly. There you go. Yeah, I'm not the queen of brevity, but we all love Amy. She's absolutely awesome. Thanks for watching. Same with Hollis. This is great having everybody jump in on this subject because there's so much to learn. Like that's what I was kind of trying to emphasize earlier on. It's just when you see what these amazing entrepreneurs are doing with their CRMs in sorry, Amy is saying CTA equals call
Well,
to
and
action.
that's
Yes,
what we
exactly.
need to
Yeah.
push out too, that your CRM is a marketing tool.
Hmm.
Because hello, people, you may hate sales, but at the end of the day, guess what? We're in sales.
Hmm. Hmm. Unless you don't have any bills to pay, like utilities or mortgage or taxes or
Well, and I
anything like
hate
that.
sales. I hate salespeople. And then I
Hmm.
realized one day, holy crap, I'm a salesperson. Um, and so that's where the CRM becomes so important. But again, I push out to you, it's not like how often you're talking to somebody, it's do you have continuity of story?
Hmm. Hmm.
So keep
Right.
that in your head and just remember from one story, from one conversation to the next, where's the story going? Because that
I love
continuity
it.
of story, I think, is so much more important than how many times you're calling somebody.
Yeah, it's so the only other thing I'd want to add would be just the appearance of desperation and full
Oh,
disclosure, like I had a shrink as a best friend for 20 years, and so like I tend to like watch people a little bit differently from most, and one of the things that really shows desperation is like, hey, buy this or buy that or buy that or buy that, and
oh,
it's like,
look at this, look at that, look at this. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't inspire any confidence. But Amy says, I have to admit, I don't know what I don't know. This is super helpful. Awesome. Let's
Oh,
continue.
thank you.
She's so awesome. And that I think you should be thinking about is like, do I actually need to switch CRMs? Because chances are the answer is no. And often, the developer, they're telling you to switch just because they're after that extra little bit of money, and you just don't know enough people. Okay, I said that extra little bit of money, I need to specify. Okay, I've made 5 figures a year before just on affiliate commissions while I was doing my other stuff. Okay, and that's not a big deal. Okay, like that's not really going to, oh yeah, we're digital marketers. Who knew? Yeah. So let me frame in what Hollis is saying here, right? Because like we are definitely digital marketers, and I think everybody is becoming digital marketers, but that's surprising because we're in commercial real estate. We're buying apartment complexes. How does that match up with digital marketers? It's, well, if you want to connect with people all over the country, you got to get this technology on your side. So but I forgot my point. That's one of my problems, is my head is swimming from this flu.
I think the point is, it's like, do you need to switch CRMs? And most of your CRMs are doing what you need them to do. It's having someone on your team that can help you figure out which pieces you need to bump up. Because the way it works, so whether you're using MailChimp or ActiveCampaign, whatever you're using, you can bump up your list. That's one price. You can bump up the number of campaigns you can send out. That's another price. You can bump up the list number. That's another price. So how you're going to segment your list. So you have to decide what methodology you are embracing. Are you segmenting? Are you sending out specific campaigns? What are you doing? Because that's where the type of CRM is really going to come into play. And I speak this to you as someone that has zero tech knowledge. Like, I am not tech literate. That's why Dan is a part of our team, because this is not my strong suit. But what I do understand is that if I want to segment my list, I'm going to Dan and I'm saying, hey, dude, I need to segment my list so that my friends that are saying, yes, I want to be a part of this, aren't continuing to get emails of, hey, do you want to be a part of this? Because that turns people off. It pisses people off that once they've decided to be a part of something, they're still getting freaking emails about it. So you want to make sure that your CRM can segment people and push them off. Like, once they've said, yes, I want to be a part of this, they are taken off the email campaign list. Stop sending them crap.
Exactly. And I've seen, I secretly spoke to Douglas Dowell, our mutual friend, and I think I mentioned a couple things. I mentioned about a couple marketers who I've seen presenting recently as they're involved with some different friends of mine, and these are kings of marketing.
Yeah.
One of them said, "I hate funnels." And I'm just going like,
the new webpage.
dude, then it's not even like, okay, so he's either misrepresenting the term funnels or he doesn't get it, okay? Because everything is a funnel.
And a lot of people don't understand what a funnel is. I was explaining this, like, literally, I explained it to 2 different groups the other day. I was like, okay, so you tell people, hey, go to my webpage. Guess what? You're a funnel. You're the top of the funnel. Hey, go to my webpage. They go to your webpage, boom, they're here in the funnel. They click on something, boom, they're further down in the funnel. But you are the beginnings of your funnel. And people don't get that.
Exactly. Your physical presence is a funnel. It's part of a funnel. When you go to those Zoom meetings, that like the Marvelous Mondays one that we have, holy smokes, it's already been 24 minutes. Yeah. Every post is a funnel, says Hollis. Every post is a funnel. But so yes, that's true. Like, all these different pieces are all funnels, but I'll tell you why I'm going to put my head out there and outright criticize these marketers. Okay. If somebody says they don't like funnels, what they're actually saying is they don't like automated emails where you can tell that they're automated. Okay.
Well, and I had somebody call me out on that the other day. They were like, it felt like it was automated. I'm like, dude. And it was Christopher Borden, for those of you that would actually like to put a name with a face. And I told him, I said, honey, I for real sent that email to you. Yes, I copied and pasted, but I chose you. I did that. That was an email from me. That was a message from me. It wasn't automated. Even though it looks automated, I swear to God it was not.
Yeah, well, so that's a writing tone thing, and Amy mentioned today I learned I'm a funnel, which is hilarious. But I want to answer her other question here, which is what are my best tips for segmenting? And that's a long subject, but
Well, that's an
what's the
automation thing,
most
right?
important part? Well, the biggest thing is it's what you should be doing. Okay, so like what you use to segment them. Okay, which is tags. In general, you use tags. You tag contacts, and the main thing is having a naming convention where even if you're hungover, you'll still know what the heck you meant. Okay,
Okay, so
so
I
most of
have
the
a
time,
question.
people, yeah.
I'm breaking in
Mhm,
here. How do you set up the automation to segment in your CRM?
mhm.
So
So,
I suck at automations. Hello, friends. I suck. I'm letting you know. But I know that
sure.
there's
So,
a
so
way to do it.
yeah. So there's two parts of that, right? There's two different situations. Okay. So the first one is when you're making a broadcast, and then the second one is when you're doing an automation. Okay. So when you're doing a broadcast, that's a mass email to a whole whack of people. Let's give the crew some nice look at my not so feeling great face, but no, Amy's saying that she's hijacking this for by asking too many questions. But no. So when you're making a broadcast or a mass email to your list, then what you do is you select those lists by who's already tagged. So step one is you go through your contacts and tag them appropriately based on whatever you want. Okay.
Okay, I'm not understanding.
Mhm. Okay,
So
so see,
I
the
need some
problem is,
backup.
yeah, we got too many variables going in here. So let's say my favorite example of a silly question about a CRM and what's up to Josh Cantwell, my old boss. He once turned around and said, "It's like, okay, give me everybody who's within 2 hours of Dallas." Okay. And it's like CRMs don't work that way. Okay. When you punch in your address, you don't say, okay, and how far is it to drive to Dallas? Right. So the computer has no way to pull that out. Okay.
Okay, so
So
you cannot link that to Google Maps and segment that way.
okay, CRMs will not do that by default. I've got a really crazy way figured out to get pretty much there,
Okay, so you
but
need
it's
a
just simpler to
special
go by state,
person.
right?
So you need a special
Mhm.
person if you're trying to segment that way.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And I can lay it out why. Because so the solution that I have for that is that if you have somebody's zip code, you can get the latitude and longitude of the center of that zip code. And
Like,
then
when
what you
people
can
say
do,
latitude and longitude, I'm just laughing because I'm like,
oh
"Oh
yeah,
my God, those are words that
oh
are
yeah,
weird."
this is exactly why I'm saying it. It's like that's totally my point. This is so far out there. It's like being able to find the solution for this problem, it's quite the undertaking. But the thing that's even crazier though is if you know that the way that the poles of the planet, they kind of squeeze in a little bit, so it's not like a sphere. So that means the further south you go, the closer to the equator you go, east and west stretches out with those degrees. So that means you actually have to change depending how far south you figure they are, or put it within a range and then say, okay, so it'd be about this much
Okay,
distance.
so
So
I
it's not a good way to
I
do
have
it.
another way to think about it. So
Uh-huh.
on the segmenting, people answer
Hmm.
yes or no to various questions. Is there another way to do it? Like, is there a way that I could be like, hey, you like the fact that I'm talking about all the stuff we're going through? You like that
Shizzle.
realistic approach. Is there a way to
Well,
segment based on that?
okay, so so the main thing is how you get the information into the CRM. Okay. You need to think ahead whenever you're building a form or anything like that, as far as like, what am I going to need? Okay,
I don't
so
think ahead.
how far they are from Dallas, right? How far they are from Dallas. If you want to ask them, okay, like in a form, it's like name, email, phone, how far are you from Dallas? then you've got that information to work with so that you can, tag them appropriately with a search. Because so I guess that's the step then. So step one, search for the contacts that you want to send to. Step two, tag those contacts with a unique tag. It says, this is why I'm tagging these people and sending.
That's something
them,
I have to
whatever
do.
that reason
Dang
is.
it. I don't want to have to do work.
Yeah.
Why is there not
Right. Exactly. So
automatically?
well, well, you need something that use Neuralink, but that's why people pay tech people, right? That's really the long and short of it. So,
Dan, that's why we love you. And this
right.
is what Amy's saying here. She's like, hey, I like the tagging. I want to make sure the people that have already come into my deal don't continue getting emails. Like, hey, this is a great deal. You should look at it. Hello, I've already invested. Quit sending me effing emails.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. It's the reason why we want to be able to segment is so that people don't keep getting emails after they've already come into the deal. Because in my mind, when I keep getting emails from people after I've gone into the deal, I'm like, you are really inept. You are a serious idiot. And I wish I hadn't invested in your deal because you don't even know how to segment a list. And it's not that I know how to segment. I don't. But I'm not going to keep sending out emails to people because we don't really even send out emails. But it really comes down to the segmenting allows you to be smarter about who you're marketing to.
And to answer Amy's question, though, the trick then would be when you set up your broadcast, you only email to people with that tag. And so the secret sauce is when they do something that should get them off the list, you remove the tag. That way they're not on the list anymore.
Is there a way to do that automatically, or do you have to do that?
Yes. You do that in the next form. Okay. So if you're saying like, hey, make sure you sign up for this. Okay. Click on this link or whatever, right?
I don't know why I'm strobing.
Oh, no, you're not strobing from my side. But anyway, so you say like, so you say, so part of your promotional emails are saying, hey, click this link, do this thing or whatever. And the reason why they got that email is because of that tag. What you do is after they click on that link, you make it in the forms automation so that as soon as somebody fills in that form and submits it, then it removes that tag. And so that way, next time you send a broadcast, it doesn't go to them. But that's not the same as the second option, which is what if you are looking to fully automate? And fortunately, a lot of it is the same. It's pretty much the same sort of thing, but usually they have some sort of campaign manager inside these CRMs. And so what you do is you make it, they're all set up with programming logic, like an if then, if this happens, then do this. So that's what you do. Is you just trigger based on that. We got William. William. I don't know why I'm calling William. It's always Hollis, but
let's Hollis.
A tag definition. It's Hollis. It's Hollis.
Kind of push in on this too. Your CRM is your email campaign. So a lot of people think those are two different things. They are not. They are the same thing. So whether you're doing it in Excel, so you have it at your own personal basic level, or you're using a big company, whether it's MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, whatever you're using, those CRMs are 100% integrated into the email. So you're running your email campaigns and your CRM, and they are together. So don't think that you've got I literally have a spiral notebook that I write down everything in. It is my base level CRM. And Dan hates me for it. My husband hates me for it, but that's where I put everything at. It's either in my head or it's in my spiral notebook. But that can be your CRM too. Like your CRM is just the thing that reminds you to do what needs to happen.
Well, it's hard to email with a notebook.
So Dan hates my spiral notebook.
Well, I have some
hates
ideas
my
about that
spiral
stuff,
notebook.
though. I have some ideas about that, and nobody has taken me up on this. I've got this thing. I really, really, really want a high-speed scanner, and the idea is like, where you just put in a big old stack of paper and just go, and then it's digitized, so you can give it to somebody like overseas or in Argentina,
Well,
like our
like
Nair.
Nair, right? I need somebody to get this crap out of my head. So I store people in my head. How do I get it out of my head into a CRM? And I am not the only person that has that issue. There are a bazillion people out there that have their CRM in their head. And there is nothing wrong with that, my friends. I love you for it. But as you meet more people, you have to get it digitized. You have to. There are zero choices for that because your brain is going to run out of space.
And the SEC hates it. That's the
Well,
official
that's the
one as
number
far as
one.
I'm concerned.
SEC hates
Yeah.
it.
Right. But back to Hollis again, though. He says that he has a tag definition Google sheet because it's impossible to keep up. I'd like to give some examples of how I tag, but I think it's a little bit too far out there. But really, it's just a matter of changing the labels. Don't be afraid of long tag names. Just whatever it requires. Like dates are great things to include in tags. Okay, just as a simple example, and then who, what, when, where, why, just like a reporter. Who, what, when, where, why. It's like anything that is really relevant that you think. Just imagine you're just completely. I like to joke and say you're hungover like crazy. You're just not thinking straight. And you still need to label it. So you look at the tag and you know exactly what it is. Next comment. Hollis says, I segment based on survey responses. Yeah, go ahead.
Hollis, I'm going to go with this too. I keep a lot of people in my head. And I think back to when I was putting them in the database and how long it took me. And I don't ever want to go back there. But oh my God, I still go back there. Like I got Dan, I got Jason, I got all these people on the team saying, girl, quit keeping these people in your head. And I still keep them in my head. And so the idea of having tags is pretty cool because if I could tag people based on, hey, this person is super interested. I met them here, I met them there. How am I going to remember that person? And sometimes it's like, oh, hey, I met them at Nick's meetup. Oh, I met them at so-and-so's meetup. Oh, I met them here. I met them there. They were wearing this. They were wearing that. And it's those tags that help us really remember. How do I know this person?
Yep. Definitely. And Amy says, I also segment people based on if I have a pre-existing relationship. I don't want to send deal notifications to non-accredited folks who I don't have a relationship. I don't want to violate SEC law. That's a great point. The one that I always like to bring up, though, is just don't forget that you're the one who's tagging them. And don't forget your automations, okay? Because if you have a form where everybody who enters in their information, if it automatically gives them that pre-existing relationship tag, you better be sure that there are no spam signups on that form. And there's pretty much always spam signups. So that's why it's important to use like a reCAPTCHA or anything like that. Next one, Amy says, yeah, I'm not doing anything automatically. I think my next step is to learn how to do that stuff automatically. I'm on the manual bust. Yep. So we can definitely set up a call or something, Amy, if you want to help with that.
No, you can't take it because Dan, you're ours.
That's the ticket. There you go. Lots more to learn. What else is going on here? Oh, here we go. Do most CRMs have the ability to do bulk texting messages? Says Ira. The answer is no, they do not. Some of them can. There's usually an additional fee involved. Sometimes it's about
what we
2
noticed
cents.
was that to text out, you have to use a different program. We can't text out of Active Campaign unless there's something I don't know. But the text
Yeah.
piece of it, there's a different set of laws that apply to texting. So some states allow you to text without leaving a message. Some states require you to leave a voicemail before you can text. Some states require you to call before you can leave a text. So there's all of these other laws that are in place, and you want to make sure that whatever program you're using to text out of understands those laws, or you're going to get your a butt in a crack.
Yep, that's right. That's exactly the case. It's so the thing I'd recommend is make sure they call it you skip trace the number, but I don't think that's right. Really, the best term for it. It's more like validate and make sure that the phone numbers are not on the do not call list. That's super important. So it's definitely something that you need to be careful of. You have to make sure that you have permission to do it. But just to like take this to the next level to answer Ira's question. One of the things that I had to set up when we were sending 5 million emails a month for about 6 years, I had to set up something that integrated with Infusionsoft, so that way, every time somebody signed up for a webinar using our service, it would automatically send the text messaging system all the phone numbers to fire off. So the big one, I believe, is Twilio for texting, and that usually integrates with a lot of different CRMs. But oh yeah, Amy here is saying that she won't steal me. So it's funny, we're still here on the REI Rocks review, and we're doing all sorts of stuff here, and I like the time is just flying because there's just so much to say on this subject. And right, yeah, we passed the different opportunities to put purple triangles on my face. I should probably emphasize it so everybody knows, right? So if you scan this code right here, then you'll be able to register for the link for the meetups that we have on Mondays. So you actually get to hang out with us and our other commercial syndicator pals. Angel, do you want to say a couple things about Marvelous Mondays?
So Marvelous Mondays is super fun. We are very laid back. It's actually a friend of mine told me last night that somebody else reached out to him and said, "Hey, Marvelous Mondays are magnetic." I don't know that I'm going to go that far, but it's a lot of fun. And I really enjoy doing Marvelous Mondays. It's super laid back. Nobody is going to say anything to you about being a newbie. They're not going to shut down your questions. You can absolutely ask them. You can absolutely be comfortable asking them. And no, nobody's going to shoot you down. We're just glad you're there.
Awesome. So we are reviewing the video of the presentation on when you have to switch your CRMs.
No,
and that's what
absolutely.
we're
But
going
so many people are so interested in everything there is that we're blown away.
Yeah. Do you think it's because I said that I'm answering questions on your dime? And well, that was one thing I wanted to ask you, Angel, is because we knew each other for over.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, that's the joys of live streaming. But the one thing I wanted to get for the record for everybody out there in the audience is we were friends for over a year before we started working with each other professionally. And I think you can attest to the fact that I stay very closed-lipped about these things until somebody is paying my bills. Cause I got
and that's the thing is and there are, this is kind of the funny thing. And I say this to people, and it's, lots of people say they're super helpful in the space, and they're going to tell you all sorts of stuff. But when the when the stuff hits the fan, a lot of people bow out. And it is until you have proven yourself in the space that people will share information about how to fix things when the stuff hits the fan. And when we've gone through it, which we have, I was talking to a friend of mine, and in the middle of our well, not even in the middle, but in our conversation, she just decided to travel. And I'm like, I don't know what time zone you're in. I have time zone difficulties. But it was, how do I get a hold of you? And even beyond that, this particular person had never gone through what I was going through, which was our property management company dissolved. They didn't fire us, they dissolved. So what the heck do I do? and that's the thing, is there's going to be tons of people in the space. You're going to be on YouTube University. You think you don't have to pay for this stuff. You're going to figure it out on your own. But the fact of the matter is, you need somebody. You need somebody you can call. You need someone that you can ask questions of at any point in time. Because, friends, stuff is going to hit the fan. It's going to go sideways. And you need actual people you can talk to that have already done tills, that have been through it, period.
And I want to give a shout out to K. Trevor Thompson, our mutual friend, because he posted a while ago, and it stuck in my head a few months ago. He said, but that's the problem of being a professional who relies on their knowledge, is everything is on YouTube. And I answered, not everything is on YouTube. And I didn't specify. And the answer is CRM stuff. Okay. The CRM stuff in this head is not on YouTube. Okay. It's such a perfect storm of experience and exposure that you have to have, that it's so rare for it to happen, right? Because most of the people who are actually sitting there figuring out how to solve everybody's problems, they never actually get to sit in the driver's seat. They never get to really interact. They never bother to ask the entrepreneur, why are you doing this? Okay. I did. And that's why I ended up opening up my agency, and then, building that and having so much success with it. So it's so important to realize. And that's why, it's a bit frustrating for a guy like me, because I'm going like, guys, if you had any idea, then, well, I guess that's indicated by the amount of activity in the chat. So it's not like nobody knows, but let's continue. People who do CRMs, whereas Angel's heard me say a million times, I'm agnostic when it comes to CRMs. I don't care which one you use. I care about like the deliverability. So like right now, if we can't get its act together, we have to leave, even though there are all sorts of features that we absolutely love about it. It's like, I won't sit there and turn this into a big pitch for a service that isn't pleasing us this week. But let's go to the next step then, because I only got 20 minutes left. You're legit new guy. Let's say you find the legit new guy. They have a resume that makes sense, or you've been referred by people who've actually done big amounts of business. So they say that you absolutely have to switch. So what is it that they're going to miss when you're making that switch? So really, like, that depends partially on your business. I know what I like to save in CRMs, which is a lot more than what most real estate people do. And what I like to save, that makes it sound like, like I'm talking about like Post-it notes or something like that. I'm talking about
I'm
the
thinking
data.
Post-it notes everywhere.
Right. But I'm talking in there, I'm talking about the data. Okay. So I save more data than most people, because, you can't get it back, like after, like the campaign's over, it's already too late. If you want to ask another question, you can't. Okay. So that's what I meant by I save a lot more information than most. And one thing that I gotta admit, like I've failed at this in this little presentation so far. I've failed to relate it back to those of you who are running your business off of a spreadsheet. Okay, and so the CRM is the upgrade from the spreadsheet, and you won't get to those 7-figure, like per year in revenue numbers and up, unless you have a CRM instead of your spreadsheet. So that part's really important. But what is it exactly that makes it so important? Well, the CRM, it's supposed to not only manage your list, you also email to everybody. Of course, if they're not receiving the emails, it's not doing you much of any good. But as far as what people will miss, it's like, well, what kind of saved data do you have that that won't be transferred? There won't be an easy way to pass it from one system to the next. So I'm speaking in generality. So it's probably like it's a little bit difficult to think of some particular ones. But one thing that, regardless of how good they are with the CRMs, that they're going to miss is it's going to be the actual logs. So that would be like, what was the date when this person first came into your system? Chances are your CRM will not have a way to export that. It will not have a way to switch that. So you got to have that in mind before you end up making the switch. And that brings me to more of this comparison. I mentioned that deliverability is going to be one way that you compare the CRMs. You know, it says Ford versus Ferrari here. And like the big name as far as CRMs right now, it has to be Salesforce. And they've got way more advertising budget than anybody else. And the bigger Fortune whatever numbers, you know, they'd be much more inclined to use a Salesforce than the other alternatives. So I should just mention that I've heard bad things about loading time inside Salesforce. Apparently, there's a lot of, you know, hurry up and wait involved, but that's the only thing I really can add as a caveat. So over the last 12 to 13 years that I've been watching what people have been using in commercial real estate and different real estate circles, for the longest time, I'd say Infusionsoft was the big CRM for those who were big enough to be able to afford it. One of the problems, like Infusionsoft, they switched their name to Keep with an A, because you know how technical people love to pretend they're illiterate or something like that. But the Infusionsoft was probably changed as a name because people would call it Confusionsoft. And and the reason why that's relevant to you is because the system itself, it's actually not confusing. It's actually just sloppy. It's put together poorly. Like the labels aren't clear enough, or there's like Infusionsoft Classic or Keep Classic. If you go, I should mention what I mean by labels. Okay, so you have menus in any CRM. Okay, and you might have the top navigation bar. First one says like orders. Second one says like contacts, something like that. And if instead of orders, it says transactions, or, you know, like there are a lot of different words that you can use that it's not very clear. And that's what I meant by labels there. Go into the orders section, it'll have like about 40 different, and I'm not even exaggerating, it'll have like 40 different types of sales reports, right? And I remember when my team and I had to start using Infusionsoft for our business, we ended up, me and the project manager, we went one by one through those different reports. And there was only one thing we were looking for. And I was looking for a report where I could just go there and I'd find out only the orders that were accepted and none of the refunds. Okay, I want to do that. Now, I know we have Kevin here who's an accountant, and so he probably recognizes what I just described as being called revenue, usually, which is extremely important in business. So you should be able to find that damn report really easy. You know, like in the one that I work for web.com, you go to orders, and then you just sit there and go click, you know, I don't want refunds and I don't want declines. And then boom, there it is right there in a report. But in some CRMs, there'll be, yeah, there you go. Angel saying, I think it's important because a confused mind says no. You're not going to have another job or a business and then be handling all of your Infusionsoft stuff at the same time. You're going to be good at one or the other in general.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny to watch these because it's like my mind is saying the same thing it said when this was going on. I'm like, oh my God, a confused mind says no. But all of the things that are going on, my mind is saying the same thing. It's not like my mind changes, and it's not like the fact of it changes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The things stay the same. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. I want to piggyback off of that because that was one of the biggest things I found from my YouTube channel is that once I got enough stuff on there and then I started like spot checking and reviewing, you know, like part of me like, and this has a lot to do with my confidence on camera. It's once I reviewed and spot check parts, especially the really out there stuff like my 366 topics, I'd watch it again and I'm like, okay, so it's been 2 years. Do I still agree? How much was it like going off on a tangent and, like not really on the point or something like that? And how good is my memory actually? Is it as good as I believe it is? Like am I actually secretly super chaotic? I think it is the question. And of course, I want you in the audience to not be thinking about me. I want you to be thinking about yourself, because you probably have noticed this in yourself a little bit as well. But recording yourself and your thoughts is so important so that you learn to trust yourself and go, it's like, yeah, 10 times, same thing happens. I'll react the same way 10 times if it's the right way to react, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that point. I love that point.
Yeah, 100%.
So comparing these CRMs and you got to go by functionality. But the other thing too is I'm talking about Infusionsoft and I'm talking about Salesforce and all these ones. But I think most people, when they get their coaching, the coaches will generally tell them to use like ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, those sorts of CRMs. And the only thing to consider about those, they are great because they focus specifically on email deliverability and nothing else. Okay. When you have people running an email server, they are checking out every single day what those statistics, those sending and open rates are. Okay. And they're not just looking at, like from a marketing perspective, when you send email out into cyberspace, it'll arrive at your Gmails, it'll arrive at your AOLs, it'll arrive at your MSNs, but all of them have the ability to say, hey, am I going to let this make its way to the inbox or not? Okay. And the amount that they focus on that, the better they're going to do. But of course, there's an opaqueness that nobody can get around. Okay. They're not going to be like totally clear about like, hey, how is the deliverability actually for this service? Okay? So that's why I don't really have a favorite when it comes to emailing CRMs. But the thing that I do think are super duper important is if you're going to be scaling long term, you got to be aware that there are CRMs like Infusionsoft, like, the oneshoppingcart.com, different ones like that. And those ones are integrated with your ability to take orders as well. So we're at the summit right now, the REI ROCKS Summit. So in order to make that happen, we needed to email a bunch of times. We needed to post on social media, all that sort of stuff. And there's the free portion, and then there's the paid portion. Well, if somebody upgrades to the VIP to get access to these recordings, we need to immediately stop sending any more emails saying, hey, you still haven't bought your ticket, because they'll call up and they'll be like, hey, what kind of ragtag organization have you got here where, like, I bought my stuff and, like, I don't even know what's going on. And it's something that every business will struggle with to some degree, because these Gmails, these MSNs, these, Comcast, Verizon, every single one of these email services, they've got the total right to say, it's like, nope, you're not getting into an inbox, and they don't have any reason why they have to do that at all. Right. So very important to consider if you're ever going to be offering like a free plus shipping book, any kind of physical book, digital books, courses, or events like this one where there's a. But we are coming up on the hour, and I want to just let everybody know, because this is time for me to put a purple triangle on my face once again. We are reviewing the REI ROCKS Summit material, and if you want to access all of this different content, there's 250 plus hours of content. All you have to do is go to this address here on my screen, or scan this tag or this QR code with your phone, and then you can do it. You want to say a couple things about all this, Angel? I need to unmute you. Yeah, I muted you a second ago because I thought I heard a yelp.
Yeah, so
there you go.
No, you did. I'm trying to take care of my kids. I've got 2 littles at home that are sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm handling that. But hey, this is real life, people, right? We've got the REI ROCKS review. We've got 250 hours plus of content that you can 100% get access to. We have a subscription level that is super low cost. It is not a whole bunch of money. It's not going to cost you your groceries every month. and you can be a part of this, and you can be a part of our family, and you can listen in on everything we've done so far. You get access to all of the information that we've ever put out there in the summits. It's over 250 hours, my friends, and it's a lot of stuff. And that's going to help you get further in your business. It's going to help you get further into your ideals. It's going to help you like reach those places that you didn't think you were going to reach before. So
That's really awesome. That's really awesome. And we always watch these videos at 1.5 times speed. I actually got a little bit impatient with my ums and ahs, so I put it to 1.25, even though I promised that I do it only at one time. But really what I want you to know is how to consume this sort of content faster so that you really see why this is such a great option. And I just want to, put this whole conversation, this whole presentation in context, which is that like literally CRM people won't tell you this. Like you won't think about like the problems of migrating until it's too late. And you have to work for one and be interacting with the clients to realize it's a disaster for everybody. And then once you're done, it's like for like 3 years, you almost forget it ever happened. And then it rears its ugly head again. So this
well,
is
and
really
even when you've topped out, they're not going to tell you, hey, you topped out.
Oh, it depends. It depends. Some of them do because they want to upcharge you for more contacts or more emails per month and all that kind of stuff. So it's really something. Paid component. It's very important to keep that in mind. So really what I'm trying to get at then is you're weighing these. Sorry, I also think that that point was a little bit lost, but maybe it's because my head's still swimming. But yeah, if you're going to take orders, maybe if you're selling books, if you're selling courses, if you're selling tickets to live events, you need to make sure that you have that whole order part of a CRM figured out. And with an active campaign or a MailChimp or something like that, you don't. Full stop. They do not do orders. So other CRMs do. So keep that in mind. Different CRMs, they're ultimately about saving the information of the people you're contacting with and or working with, and then you have to be able to send them all the time. So I see that Angel mentioned right here is that you need to segment your list. Okay, you're going to segment that with tags and all that kind of stuff. But really, what I'm saying about the funnel is everything. It's your CRM isn't going to, like, even if you stick to like the active campaigns that we're having no difficulty with deliverability with, as opposed to the Kartra, it still comes down to the skill of your marketers and copywriters. Okay. So if you're going to get people really interacting with your stuff, if it's really going to be effective, you have to have killer subject lines. Okay. Cause that's what we all judge them by. It's like, hey, is this something that, like, who's it from? What are they saying? Is it worth opening? Right. So that is what I call part of the funnel. And the idea is like, what's step one? I'm going to pause there again. Okay. So the other problem I find people run into is they start a business and they're like, okay, how do I do this? I've got an idea for what to sell. I'll get a marketer, right? The marketer is usually the first place that people go. Well, the marketer 10 times out of 10 is going to have tech people. Maybe they're, living overseas or whatever. Okay. But the problem, like there's just this massive, massive problem of like the tail wagging the dog, just because you think you have the right people, but you don't. Okay. So you'll get some marketer who'll be like all excited about, this, that, and the other thing, but they basically maybe do like a B- job of understanding the capabilities of a CRM. And that's if you get a really good one. Okay. So it's like who to hire first is a very difficult thing to do. And I really do think that finding somebody who has like the whole picture, I think it's really, really important, because you're just leaving so much money on the table. It's just crazy. One. And then the second time when you interact with them, what's step two? And if they do what you said, what's step three? That's the funnel. And so the thing that I put this slide up for was to say, it's like, okay, so your funnel, what you're actually doing with your contacts and connections, that's more important than your CRM, because your CRM can't compensate for the fact that your marketing or messaging is no good. So like, are you wasting time with your web developer? Quite possibly. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because web developers aren't in the business of business. Okay. They're in the business of finding people who want something on the internet and then just doing whatever they're told. Okay. If you get a marketer or a copywriter, then they'll understand the intentionality that you have to do with all of those different pieces, those emails and all that. And I got to unmute too. Yeah. So the copywriter piece. Okay. Like that's the scariest part as far as I'm concerned, because very few marketers are copywriters as well. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so unbelievable. It's, you know, and like we used to pay 5 figures for a long form sales letter, just a single page, the writing that's on there. Okay, so it's real money for a reason, because the copywriters are the people who are supposed to not only really get it, but also figure out how to get people to really want it. Most marketers are just like, okay, well, we'll just throw some stuff up there and, you know, make it happen and I'll collect a check. And, you know, they'll just try and at least keep up with the status quo kind of stuff. So like, honestly, I do think you're better off talking to somebody on this side of the pond, so to speak, and having them work on your funnel rather than just trying to go on the cheap, outsource, and then just, you know, I heard Jason say this last week about underwriting, you know, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. You know, if you start off with garbage, then everything you get is going to be garbage anyway. But the question really is going to be then, what's going to ruin your life? What's going to be super difficult when it comes to switching CRMs? I already mentioned that you're going to lose some of your history. You might be able to handle that with like screenshots. There's going to be some data that you're not going to be able to keep. But the one that's going to be really bad is you're going to contact your CRM, say, hey, I got this list. And I sat next to the guy who approved the imports, these imports that I'm describing. Okay. So that you're going to say, hey, I got this list. How do I import it? Okay. And that's when your day is about to get a little bit or a lot worse. Okay. Because what they're going to say is, oh, so how did you get this list? They're going to want to know, did you buy it? Okay. And one thing I'm going to tell you guys in the audience, because you're all in real estate, is that real estate emailing couldn't be more different from the rest of online marketing. Okay. For digital marketing, the default is that people don't care about what you have to say. They will not interact with your emails at all. Whereas like with brokers, if you're just emailing them saying, hey, send me your deals. Okay. They're like, okay, sure. And they'll email you back. Okay. Whereas most of the time in a CRM, you email them, it's like it's going into a dark void. You don't know what really happens. So what's going to actually happen? What's going to happen is the CRM company is going to say, where you got this list. They're probably going to want to log in to your current CRM to take a look at how you've been getting contacts. So did you just import at the last one and then you end up getting such a bad spam rating that you got booted out of your CRM? That's not unusual. That's super normal situation to be in. So that's part of the people who work at the CRM's job, is to make sure that you don't let in too many spammers and you kick them out when they start misbehaving too much. So the opt-in behavior that I'm describing is, you know, importing is one kind, but really what I'm talking about is called double opt-in. So in the business, everybody always insists that when somebody signs up on a form, you got to make sure that it was actually that person who signed it up, because it could have been a bot. It could have been somebody who hates you and wants you to get spammed. So they just go up to a bunch of things like, hey, if I put Jason's email in this, he's going to get a ton of email. He's going to be so pissed. It's going to be awesome. I assume that. Speaking of Jason, one thing that we haven't mentioned, though, is the second set of eyes. That's the wrong one. The underwriting. That's the right one. Oh, we got the shirts here, too. Boing. Fashion. Yeah. So is there more room in your underwriting? Is there more room in your underwriting there, Angel? You think? You're muted. Yeah, you're muted. Yeah. So anyway, Jason underwrites.
So I'm saying, I'm like, hey, I got Jason. I don't know that I have a whole bunch of the room. I can't believe I was on mute. Dang it.
Oh, well, it's time and place, I guess. But what can you do? So Jason is my underwriter. Full stop. Okay. I do not trust another underwriter more than I trust Jason. I can't figure out another way to put it. He also looks great on t-shirts. He's got his little bow tie and everything. It's really, really awesome. But if you scan this code or go to theacademypresents.com/UW, you can get in touch with Jason. And the thing I want to emphasize about how all that stuff works, while this purple triangle is still covering my face, is underwriting takes a lot of time. And Jason is aware of that, of course. And he has different packages depending on the level of depth of underwriting you actually want done. So do you want him to just look at your numbers in your spreadsheets using the stuff that, like everything that you've done? That's the cheaper one. If you want him to use his proprietary systems to do all the underwriting, that's another one because it's more work. So definitely get in touch with him. He's absolutely a great guy. He's one of my favorites, and I think that's why Angel's going to keep him.
Maybe, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So let's continue.
That's what goes through their head. I've never done it myself, right? So how about 2000? Oh, okay, yeah, right. We're still talking football, so I can still ignore it.
But I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, I said that. All right. So is this that situation where your brand, your personality, your person, your mavericks really come into play? Because like
not yet,
no?
unfortunately. Yeah, it
So I'll
doesn't
still
really
hit
come in.
spam.
Yeah, see that doesn't matter because you've got a bunch of totalitarian dictators involved who
Taters.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. I'm talking about all of these different services, the Googles of the world, the AOLs of the world, all of these guys, they can make it up as they go along. You know, it's and like that's the thing too, is like, you know, here we are, these bigger companies like the CRMs themselves are kissing these mail providers' butts. And they can't get their calls answered. Okay, you got companies that are worth billions of dollars. Well, then not so much billions. It's like it might be worth like $1 billion. But if they try and get a hold of Google and say, "Hey, we're having real troubles that like all of our legitimate emails, they're just not ending up, you know, in the inbox. What can we do about that?" It's like, well, you can wait till the next conference where we actually do public releases because we're not telling you anything is basically how that's going to go down, right? So as individuals, we have zero power over our deliverability, but there are technical things we can do to improve it. And the biggest thing is like just treat people like people. Okay, you can't just be saying, "Hey, buy this. Hey, buy this. Hey, buy this," especially if it's something that's not valuable. But the opt-in behavior thing, I
I
wanted
have
to
another question.
Sure,
Sorry.
go for it.
So Hamad Khan was saying that he actually had to call and get his email or get his whatever moved from one server to another server.
Yep.
So that it wasn't flagged. What does that mean?
Okay, so sometimes these CRMs, they have services that are at an additional cost where you will have your own dedicated server, or at least you won't have as many people using that server. But one of the problems is that's been going away as of like 5 years ago.
Yeah, when I was reviewing this, I wasn't crazy about how I phrased that answer. So by default, on a CRM, when your account is running on the same server as other people's accounts, and they're all doing that mass emailing out of that server. So what I'm trying to say though is that if you have deeper pockets than the average CRM customer, you can usually call them up and say, "Hey, what sort of premium tiers do you have for servers? Like, do you have dedicated IPs? Do you have dedicated servers?" Things like that. And if they have them, then you can you will notice a big uptick in the performance. So that's what I'm trying to say there.
So your own personal sending reputation will have more to do with your deliverability than anything else, just because they realize, okay, well, there are shared servers where half of it's legit and half of it's not. But so there is a problem with being on a server that people have already indicated is garbage. But it's really it's just like dealing with SEC attorneys, where like everything's so fuzzy and you can't get a straight answer out of anybody. But that's those are at least the forces involved with the people. So just to finish up that opt-in behavior thing, a double opt-in is where somebody fills in a form, but so that's the first opt-in, and you're supposed to, according to these companies, send an email saying, "Hey, are you sure you want to get email from us?" And then people have to click that, and then it's confirmed. That's what I have in 506 BME. But for everything else, literally, I do not encourage the use of double opt-in because it's asking too much. You have to be such good friends with somebody. You have to have such a good relationship with somebody when it is. So yeah, that's the email verification process. So if you did not double opt-in, some CRMs are going to say, "No, you cannot import your list. All you can do is broadcast to your old list and say, hey, join this free, whatever." And that's how you get them to migrate themselves. So my next one is, but wait, what about your compliance documentation? 3 minutes to spare. This is good stuff. So that's one of the biggest things, right? As syndicators, we have to have some sort of documentation proving, hey, I knew this person before I told them about my private deals. Okay. And it's even better if you have proof that they knew who you were and you knew who they were, and you both had the, you know, like the knowledge of their level of sophistication, especially if they're non-accredited. Okay. So when it comes to the compliance documentation, it is specifically something I had in mind when I built 506 BME. The idea being is like, get your compliance taken care of with one service and then email somewhere else. The idea being, then that's a little bit of an issue. It definitely draws the sting out of switching CRMs, because you at least have that backbone, and then me and my service is taking care of your IT, so the stuff never disappears. But that's really the play that I'm going for here. So the idea is that you have 506 BME. If you do pick it up, you know, you can people can book appointments with you through there. You can also show that you're serious about compliance, because this is something going above and beyond what most just about any syndicator is really up to. But the bigger thing is that you get that documentation of your due diligence in the relationship building part, you know, because that's really the difference. And since everybody's doing 506Bs, you know, and everybody, I mean, 85% of exemptions are 506Bs. That's why this has been so important to me, and why I wanted to say these things about what you're looking into. So there you go.
Well, I think this is a really awesome conversation. And I know we have someone coming up in just a couple of minutes, but this conversation is going to continue in the networking an hour and a half, because this is something I think that is super important for all of us, and something we need to be thinking about, because it's insane. Like when I think about so I'm going to share some numbers with y'all. In our active campaign, we have a 50% open rate. That is insane. That is not the norm. You're usually looking at 10, maybe 15%. But we don't send out a lot of stuff. So when we do send out stuff, people are interested. So that's kind of the number one tip. Don't send out a bunch of crap. Send out stuff when it's important. But to move to another CRM and have like not a whole bunch of opens, we were like, what the heck is going on? So to have a baseline to go off of is super important too.
Right. Yeah. Brian's saying about how they sometimes send erroneous open reports. Often like Apple started blocking for privacy reasons. And I also see Kathy, and I know Kent is just coming on, so I know he's taken over, but Kathy's mentioned about, do you ever drop subscribers if they aren't opening emails? And unfortunately you have to. You have no choice these days. We were doing 5 million emails sent per month, and I was doing that for 6 years with that list. And so you do have to sanitize your list. In other words, you put it through a service, and they say, oh, hey, these are spam traps, these are bounces. You know, yeah, this guy, you know, they'll tell you who to keep and who not to. But you do have to keep track of who's actually engaged. And if they're not opening your emails and they're not getting involved, you have to give them a way to stop getting frequent emails, or your reputation will go down the tubes, and then you'll never exactly, you'll never land in an inbox. You'll always be in the spam.
All right, so I'm going to stop this recording, and then we'll restart.
The end. So yeah, it's heavy duty stuff for sure, right? It's, I guess,
absolutely.
Yeah, I guess this like watching these different businesses run online with CRMs, it's like there's nothing that you can really compare it to. You know, like people, it's like you're never going to be able to compete with somebody who's effectively using their CRM unless you're doing the exact same thing. It's you know, it's the money's in the list, as they say. So you always have to be doing new things. You have to figure out stuff. What's that? Okay, what is the service that sanitizes? Okay, so there was. I'm trying to remember the names of them. If you take it, if you Google it, you will find a few. It's not Mail Tester. There are a few different ones. Like, so all it, like, if you look online, it's not free. It's fairly inexpensive. What'll happen is you'll export a list from your CRM, and then you import it into the system, and it just goes through one by one. So I'd have to Google it myself because my head's swimming. I can't remember the service that we used to use, but like honestly, none of them are going to be perfect, and you can only just your CRM and email providers are going to want to show that you made an effort. That's the big thing. Okay. It just needs to be the percent. So one thing about Infusionsoft is they regularly email you if your bounce rates are too high, if your open rates are too low. It's like they'll let you know. And if you don't stay in contact with them saying, yeah, we know this is what we're doing to rectify it, then they'll shut you down. They'll shut down your ability to send email. But the thing that I think is the most fun about getting in trouble for spam sending like that is they'll still keep billing you. They'll keep billing you. You can still access all your contacts. You just can't use it to email, which like that was the thing I wanted to emphasize was, you know, like people are in tears over this stuff. Okay, switching CRMs, like people like they cry. Okay, it's not. I wouldn't say it's quite as bad as capital raising. I think capital raising is probably the most stressful thing that I've seen people go through. I've seen enough people doing it, and like I'm looking at the level of desperation is just unbelievable. It's just like there's this EMD on the line, and you know, like the clock's a ticking. It's like that's really scary. It's very, very similar because it is your entire business that's at stake here, and it's a very scary time here. But there you go. So there you go. So Amy's never heard of that stuff, but yeah, it's if you deal with independent email deliverability services, that's when you find out more of that. A lot of CRMs, like I remember when Infusionsoft tried to, you know, clean up their game a lot, they started encouraging and offering discounts if you sanitize your list using particular services. Like I remember once, like we had to pay like $500 to sanitize like a list of, you know, like it was I want to say it was around 50,000 people, but it may have been bigger than that. And so what Infusionsoft offered back then is, oh well, we'll just give you half of what you paid in credit towards your Infusionsoft account. So it's important to them, and it's important to your deliverability. But I think we've achieved a couple things in this little presentation. One is I finally established is that this stuff is very complicated, and the second thing is you don't want to do it. You want somebody else to do it, and you know that's really the case. It's and I think me personally, I think my linguistic background helped me with being great at CRMs because like it's all labels, right? And so I'm used to, it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm in Taiwan now, so this isn't a cup, it's a bait, you know, something like that. It's if you're that flexible mentally, it's really easy to be better at your CRMs and segmenting and all that kind of stuff. But there you go. So I guess that's our show for today. Angel, this has been absolutely awesome.
No, it's been a lot of fun. I think this is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we didn't hit the doggy bag, and I still don't have any clip art to throw on the screen for that. So what's your doggy bag?
Like really what you need to be taking away from this is figure out how you're going to segment your list, because one of the worst things is continuing to send out an email campaign to people that have already signed up for your stuff. That's the number one thing I hate the most. And that's as someone that's receiving the emails, not as someone that's sending them out, someone that is receiving them. So keep in mind the things that you hate to receive, because what you hate to receive is also what everybody else hates to receive. So think of ways to like work around that stuff.
Exactly. The only other thing that I'd want to emphasize too is the old story. There's an old story about Tower Bridge in London. It's the one with the big towers and the bridge like that. I don't know if you knew that part, but the story is that the open shutty part of Tower Bridge was malfunctioning, and all of the maintenance people, they just couldn't figure out what was wrong. So they ended up calling up some old timer who used to work there to come on in, and he came on in, brought his hammer, went to one spot, went gong, and it started working. And then he sent them an invoice for 10 grand. And they were like, what? I'm not going to pay 10 grand for you to hit with a hammer. It's like, no. Hitting it with the hammer, that was $10. The rest of it was for knowing where to hit with a hammer. Okay. And talking about segmentation, that's where the minutes reflect years, and that's what you're paying for. Okay. So some people get a lot of sticker shock when they say, hey, Dan, can you help me with the CRM? And I give you like a 30-minute link that's 3 figures. and people are like, whoa, what's this all about? It's like, you don't get it. Okay. Like, I can change your next 5 years in minutes. That's why. Okay. It's very similar to attorneys and all that kind of stuff. And like, you know, going back to always feeling like I'm bragging, I'm not. It's just how it works. I've seen this stuff, and like, I'm so grateful for the people who I've worked with. They're like, you know, and it's not just real estate. See, real estate is great for knowing all this stuff, but like, you don't get the kind of traffic with real estate that you do with, like, you know, health, fitness, supplements, stuff like that. Those are big numbers. And so once you've, you know, had that kind of trial by fire, it's definitely a different thing. But Angel, I also want to thank you just for giving me the opportunity to really put all this stuff out here, because I think that this is so important for so many people.
Well,
But
and it is, and I don't think people realize just how important it is for their business. Like, you may think you can do this stuff on your own. God, you really can't. Like, you might be all right at it, but you need to be at the top of your game if you want to actually be using CRMs, email campaigns, all of these things to perpetuate your business. Then you need to be at the top of your game. And to be at the top of your game, you got to have somebody that's at the top of theirs, because it's generally not going to be you.
you're good at one thing, and it's like, if you want to get really great at like 7 or 8 other things, then okay, maybe, I guess, but it's just way easier. And just keep in mind, you know, the holistic side of, if you're going to go to somebody who's strictly tech, then they're not going to have the marketing chops. And if you go to somebody who's a marketer, they're probably not going to have the copywriting chops. And if you go to the copywriter, they're not going to have the tech chops. You know, so it's such a weird balance, and like understanding how, like, oh, this is what success, that's the formula for success, is check, and rock and roll. But do you have any last words before we go? I guess I maybe should put some purple triangles on my face again. Maybe we should see them on Monday.
No, I mean, just Marvelous Mondays. That's my big push. I'd love to see you there. We have a lot of fun. It is magnetic, per another friend of mine's words. So it's just a lot of fun. Meet us there. And if you want any information about anything else we're doing, it's going to happen there. And we'd love to see you.
For sure. Thanks a lot, and thank you for watching. Everybody for commenting. Here's Amy saying the same thing. Thank you, Amy. Thanks, Hollis. Thanks, Ira. And have a delightful weekend, everybody.